My name is Lydia Nibley, and I'm the director of Two Spirits. Two Spirits is about the murder of a young Navajo boy who was 16 years old when he was killed. And so the film really centers around his mother and her grief and her telling of the story of his life. I first heard about the story with my co-producing and co-writing partner, Russell Martin. A friend of ours is in the film, and he was on the ground in Cortez when Fred was murdered. And he and a group of other local people realized that they needed support in order to make sure what had happened in Laramie, Wyoming, around the murder of Matthew Shepard did not happen in Cortez, Colorado. So they immediately worked to pull in people who could help sensitize the local media and work with the police and do a good job of supporting Fred's family. The Navajo have four genders: the feminine woman, the masculine man, the male-bodied person who has a female essence, and a female-bodied person who has a masculine nature. The traditional Navajo view holds these people, the third gender, nadleeh, the fourth gender, nadleeh, in high regard. Now, that has eroded over time because of the forced imposition of boarding school education, where children were separated from their parents and grandparents. They weren't properly given the English language, and then they lost touch with their Dene language. It's been something that over multiple generations has become almost lost, but not entirely. One of my favorite stories from this realm is a Navajo boy coming out to his grandmother. And he had come out to his parents, who belonged to a Christian congregation and who had had a Western education. And he had a very different experience as he came out to them. When he came out to his grandmother, she smiled and she said, "Oh, my friends will be so jealous." There is a lack of understanding about how gender and sexuality are completely separate. Everyone understands that there's a natural spectrum for sexual desire, from asexual, what is all the fuss about, what are you people talking about, to very sexual. It's very important. Sexuality is a great part of the human experience, and people who fall across that spectrum, everybody gets that. So then the next step is, can we understand that gender is the same thing? Shades of difference from one end to the other, and people exist all across the spectrum. Then when it comes to sexual attraction, that's completely separate. Who you are attracted to has to do with, are you in the middle as bisexual, are you one end to the other, hardwired hetero, or are you gay or lesbian, and the spectrum that exists there. After the film was completed, I continue to be in touch with people in Cortez, Colorado about things that are happening there. And I think Cortez it's a microcosm and macrocosm of what's going on in the culture. And when Fred was murdered, there were a lot of problems with bullying at the high school. Now there's a gender-neutral dress code in the high school where Fred attended. So I think that anytime we hear stories that change our perceptions and challenge the way we've been thinking, in a knee-jerk way, and ask us to analyze an issue more thoughtfully, we make progress. And that is the impact of what happened after Fred's murder. People really started to talk about it, they started to think about it, and the conversation that took place in that community of Cortez has benefited all the institutions and the people of Cortez. And obviously that happens on a larger level throughout the United States as well. The whole film team is thrilled that PBS is going to air Two Spirits, because access to the film will be free to all Americans in rural communities and urban communities, and it's a part of the discussion of gender and sexuality that's going on in this culture. It's very important to have venues like Independent Lens for films to be seen by these audiences that represent both niche audiences and general audiences. We need long format discussions of in-depth issues. And we can't have superficial sound bites dominating. We have to have places where subjects can be deeply, humanely, intelligently explored. And so Independent Lens is a great venue for film in that regard.